Got a unboxing video for you here today. We're actually going to be unboxing an Axial RBX10 Ryft. Let me make sure that's correct. Yes, RBX10 Ryft. So this video is going to be dedicated to just opening it, giving, looking at it, giving my initial thoughts and opinions, and then later I'll do a running video. The reason for that is a lot of channels out there will do the unboxing and running video all in one. And I've noticed that what happens is they have to kind of structure that video in a way where both of those get a good amount of view time, right? So what I'm going to do is dedicate an entire video to looking at this thing, giving my opinions on it. That way you get the full story, the whole thing, all of the details, and nothing has to be cut up or cut out, or you get what I'm saying? I don't have to try to fit all that information in a 30-minute or so video, and in the next one we can actually take it out and drive it. Alright, kid, down. So, without further ado, let's unbox this Ryft. Now this is not a new truck, it's been out for a while. It's actually kind of old at this point. But I wanted one since I first seen it, and finally got one. It was actually on sale for like $200 off, so that was nice. I think it was 200, somewhere around in there. But yeah, so first things first, let's unbox it and get a good little view of it here. We got a nice little thing that holds it in place. You can go over there. We've got the truck. So this thing is really cool. We're going to talk about some stuff with it. Just a standard Spectrum transmitter. You got your bag of stuff here. There's a couple of extra screws. Comes with some type of little plate. Comes with batteries for the controller. And of course your manual, which is always nice. Certainly if you're looking up replacement parts and things like that. If it has an exploded view, we'll see. What's the transmitter that it comes with? I think it's the same radio that I actually put in my my backslash that I built. It comes with a Spectrum DX3 transmitter. This is actually the same transmitter that comes with the Losi Baja Ray back there. So that's cool. That means this will have throttle limit, your throttle thing, your steering. You can track battery life if you've got a smart battery set up, which I don't. Got to bind a button. I think it's even got a place for like, I'm not sure about this, but is there a plug in there? Yeah, there's some type of plug in there. I'm not sure what this is for. I don't really ever use the controller attachments and things like that. But yeah, a little power button on the back. Takes 4 AA batteries, which is really nice because in the past I've had controllers that take, or radios that take 8. And it's just a lot of stuff to keep track of. There's no exposed external antenna on it. Yeah, nice foam wheel. Again, this is what I use with my Losi Baja Ray, and it seems to work fine with that. So that's cool. And I think that's all that's in the box here. Let's get this out of the way and get a closer look at this Ryft here. First of all, we'll go over some details with it a little further away so you can see the full size. This is a 1/10 scale truck. Just for size comparison back here, this is actually an SCX10 deadbolt that I've built with cantilever suspension and a bug body with an interior. So we'll take this off just to show you. These are both billed as 10th scale trucks, but there is quite the size difference here. If I had to guess, I would say this is closer to like a small 8th scale, but still in the 10th scale category. And I mean, that's all based on what vehicle it's based on. You know, a 10th scale monster truck, the true 10th scale monster truck, is going to be bigger than a 10th scale VW Bug, just because of the size of what it's based on, things like that. But yeah, it's a little on the large sides. Tires are pretty large. I want to go over some details with this just real quick here, and then we'll get in and look closer at some of the parts and pieces. But I want to explain something about this truck. A lot of people that I've seen seem to think that this is a rock crawler, and it's not. This is not a crawler. This is a rock bouncer, where a crawler is meant to be slow and accurate and super capable and this and that. This thing is actually meant to tackle the terrain with wheel speed and momentum. This is not a crawler. Does it have a lot of flex? Yeah, of course it does. It's a solid axle, link style suspension. Of course it's going to have a lot of flex, but it is not under any circumstances a crawler. This thing is meant for just brutal power, brutal torque, and like, if you want to see full-scale versions of these, what I would suggest is you check out a channel called Mad Ram 11, and they do rock bouncing videos and things like that. And yeah, you see a crawler here and there, but primarily they cover this type of stuff, and the difference between a rock bouncer and a rock crawler is staggering. It's a completely different sport. They attack the trails and the rocks and the terrain in a completely different style. This is, again, not a crawler. It's a rock bouncer. What you doing, Red Butt? What a pretty girl. Alright, I gotta stop making so much noise. Every time I get a new box, they have to test it. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get a closer view of this. We'll go through all of the little details, show you my thoughts on the strengths of it, see if I could find any weaknesses with the naked eye, just things of that nature. So let me get y'all set up a little bit closer here. Alright, now that I got y'all a little closer here, we'll go through some actual details on it. First of all, it is a full tube chassis, just like a real rock bouncer. This would be completely like custom made in real life. There's no actual car parts other than axles and things like that. The tube chassis is completely custom. It's kind of a, I'm not sure what it's made out of. I'm gonna go out on a limb and probably say injection molded plastic if I gotta. I mean, it's some sort of plastic. It's not metal, but that's all right. It seems reasonably stiff. It's got some flex to it, which is nice. You don't want things to break. You want them to flex a little. You got a scale fuel cell back here. You've got your internal driver figures. Comes with a Mach steering wheel, and it even comes with like a little GPS deal on the passenger side. I don't know if you could see it down in there. There we go, the little green screen on the passenger side. It was with stickers and decals and things like that. And then the ESC is mounted right up here in the middle, between the in the dashboard, kind of between the in the console area between the driver and passenger, or driver and navigator in this case. So that's cool. Your battery compartment is actually 2 pins right up here up front, and the hood pops open, and then you can load your battery into the front here. Now, be careful with your battery size, because I'm sure there's, very, very high capacity batteries out there that will not fit this. Let me go ahead and grab my Genzace, and I'll do a test fit here real quick just to make sure that my 4S can fit. This truck is 2.3 and 4S capable, I do believe. But a lot of people seem to think that it's insanely overpowered on 4S. Judging from what I've seen in the videos I've watched, I would have to agree. But, I mean, these trucks in real life, they have 1,000, 1,500 horsepower. They're not, they're not small engine vehicles. They have a lot of power. So, to be a little realistic with it, the ones in real life probably have more power than they need as well. But they use every bit of it. Alright, so my 4S Genzace here seems to be having a problem. Can I force it? Fitting under this front cage bar here. So for those of you wondering, this is a Genzace 5000 milliamp hour battery. It's a 50C. So it's a little tall. However, that's not a big deal. I don't plan on running 4S in this anyways. I actually plan on keeping it on 2S, which brings me to the first, I guess I would say, problem that is known with this truck. I don't know if they've updated the axles and the parts, but when it first came out, one of the problems was that it shredded diffs. It did not like the diffs, and I think the axles were a bit weak on it as well. With that being said, I'm not too disappointed that 4S won't fit. It's not needed. This thing has plenty of power, plenty of go. Just on 2 or 3S, I think most people agree that 3S is kind of the sweet spot, and 4S is just in case you want overpowered madness. So I'm going to keep mine on 2S. But yeah, so one thing that is a known issue with this truck are the diffs, and I do believe the axles. Other than that, I think it's a pretty stout little rig. We'll go into some real close-up detail here in a second. Just look at all your steering adjustment and everything like that. What was that popped? All right, what are we doing there? What is that? Ah, okay. The link here moves. All that is the link being down here on the servo horn. As this link moves, it moves in an arc. So it's trying to come closer, but the servo arm is blocking it a little. And it's just popping up over it. So nothing bad. It's actually, because it's upside down, if you have it right side up, gravity pulls that link down and it clears that servo arm, no problem. So, okay. Steering angle is, in my opinion, pretty good. I think it's actually better than my deadbolt that I have that I showed you at the beginning. And metal linkages, which is nice. I like that. I don't know how hard they're going to take a hit. You know, if you ram it face first into a rock, it might bend it. But, who knows? It does look like it comes with, are these actually aluminum bodied shocks? They sound aluminum bodied. Yeah. Oh yeah, those are aluminum bodied shocks with, I do believe, aluminum shock caps. So that's nice to see. Some of y'all who are more familiar with Traxxas models and things like that, when you really beat on them, they can pop those plastic shock caps off. And this one seems to have aluminum bodied shocks and aluminum shock caps. So you don't have to worry about that with it. That's nice. I'm going to go ahead and put these clips back in here. If I could find the hole. Okay. One thing that I will show off is where your battery sits here at the bottom of the cage under full compression. It does contact the top of your axle where your links are. So just kind of keep that in mind. But with one of these, suspension travel isn't really what gets you through the trails. What gets you through the trails is the articulation that you can get. And I mean, there you go. This thing's got a ton of flex. I know suspension travel will help you get through the trails, but at the same time, if you go and you look at some of these rock crawler builds people do, they build belly draggers and no springs on the shock, so it just sits real low. It has suspension travel downwards when you're doing that, but none up. So what really gets you through the trails and over tough obstacles is your suspension, your flexibility, your things like that. So while it doesn't have a lot of up and down travel in the front, I would say maybe 1.5 to 2 inches. It's not something that's needed to get through tough obstacles, that's where your flex comes in. In the rear, you've got a lot more. Yeah, you probably got, I don't know, 4 inches of travel back there. More than enough. Nice. Let's see. Can you take the top off of this box back here? You can. You can take the top off of it, so if you want to put stuff down in here, you can. I don't expect it to be waterproof in here, but let's say if you're building this with a different motor and ESC and or something like that, I mean, you know, run a wire, drill a hole in the box, and you could put your receiver back here. You could, I mean, realistically, you could put anything you want in there. So, yeah, it's hollow. So yeah, that's cool. It's held on with 4 little screws. What else can we look at here? Does come with a metal servo. This casing is metal. I'm not sure about the gears inside. It is a Spectrum S614S. Axle mounted servo, which is cool because if you want to make it 4-wheel steer, you can always buy an axle for the rear that has a servo mount, and then you can make it 4-wheel steer. You just have to mess around with your controls and stuff and have a proper control that can proper remote radio, I'm sorry, that can support that. So that's cool. The body comes off, the cage comes off by undoing the shocks front and rear, and then you have these 4 screws on each side. And I do believe after that, this cage just lifts off. Oh yeah, you have to undo some screws for the radio box here as well. Your on-off switch, on-off button, power button, whatever you want to call it, is on the back of your spare gear cover here, which it's kind of an interesting thing to put it there. Honestly, I don't think I would have. When you're out in sticks and rocks and things like that, something can come up here and hit this. And I think it just would have been better if they maybe would have mounted the button right here in the center. You know, just something like that. Just to keep it out of the way of any debris and things. I've actually got this same type of on and off switch on my system in the Veloci Baja Ray, and I've actually knocked the little rubber button piece out of it, so I have to reach in there with a stick to turn it off and on now. So don't much care for that location. Plus, if you're switching out spur and pinions and things like that, you can't just take the cover off. You've got a switch that is on it. Good news is that switch is held on it with a screw, not double-sided tape. So you just take the screw off, take the switch out, and then you can get to your spur gear and pinion. Not a big deal. Let's see. All your linkages are metal, except for in the rear. These trailing arms here are plastic, but your front links, they're metal with plastic rod ends. They look decently beefy. I would compare them to... Actually, they may be a little bigger than what I used on my SCX10 deadbolt, and those were push rods from a Trexus Revo. And that's what I used for the top links in the rear to kind of clock the rear axle, and I used them on bottom too to extend the length of that deadbolt a little so that it would fit that short course bug body. But this is yeah, these are nice and beefy feeling. They've got, oh, isn't that cool, they've got holes milled into them instead of hexes. I don't know if y'all can see that. I'm sorry about that. They've got holes milled into them here. So you stick an Allen wrench through them and then turn them, which is actually a nice bit of forethought, because if you got something like this and you've got the, let me see if I can find like a normal link here. There you go. You've got your little hexes on here to put a wrench on. What can happen is that just helps it get caught up on things a little. So these are completely smooth, no hexes on them. Instead, you've got holes that you can put an Allen wrench through and then adjust, which is really nice. I like that. Little details like that are things that I just really like. There are options to put a sway bar on it. You've got your mounts here, and then it even comes with the screw in the rear arm to mount the sway bar there. So that's cool. You don't have to buy any extra equipment. It actually comes with the little, what is it called? The ball in there that it snaps onto. So that's really cool. The sway bar kit, you can buy one that's plastic and it's a couple bucks. Or there are aftermarket suppliers that can supply you with aluminum sway bars and all kinds of stuff. There's companies that make front and rear axles in aluminum. Vitavon, there's what's the name of that one? God, I can't remember it at the moment. I'll put it on screen if I can remember it. But yeah, there's plenty of upgrade paths, things like that. One thing I do want to look at is your steering hubs up here. This little piece that screws into the axle. One thing with these that worries me sometimes is the thinness of the material that they're made out of. This looks pretty tightly packed in here. There's barely enough room between your intermounting tabs for the axle to actually clear. So they put quite a bit of beef there, everything they could to really that could fit, you know, without making things oversized and more likely to catch on rocks. So yeah, it looks pretty beefy in there. It's a little thin up top up here, and it's a little thicker in the bottom here. But again, when you're dealing with this, you know, if you make it too thick here, then you've got a possibility of things catching it when you're going through rocks and things like that. So it's, in my opinion, it's as beefy as it can be while being as compact as it can be. And I like that. That's cool. Solid axles front and rear. One thing about this truck that's different from a rock crawler is it actually does have differentials. So they're not locked. And it's got a center diff, I do believe. Let me make sure of that. Yes, it's got a center diff, so it's got diffs front, rear, and center. There are locker kits that you can buy for these, by the way, if you really want to go crazy with it. And while this isn't a rock crawler, some people have done a lot to make them rock crawlers. In the transmission, you can buy a 2-speed, and you can change out your motor and ESC for a censored system, and, you know, change some gearing around and stuff like that. You could put portal axles on it, and that will get your speed down to the point where it's a capable crawler. But like I said in the beginning, this is not a crawler. It's a rock racer. It's a rock bouncer. It's meant to just brutalize its way through any terrain you point it at with 1,000 horsepower. I mean, that's what they do in real life. And I'm a big fan of it. I watch it on YouTube, and like I said, MadRam11, they're a YouTube channel that focuses on not RC but real life rock bouncers and off-road and things like that. But for those of you who are curious, yes, you can crawl it. You can turn it into a crawler with enough time and patience and money. But out of the box, from the videos I've seen, it's not meant for crawling. It's geared too high, and it just kind of cogs around, and it doesn't like going slow. That's not in this thing's nature. So don't buy it if you're looking for a crawler. But if you're looking for something nuts to just jump through the trails and take on the terrain, this is what you want. Shocks. That noise is actually the springs rubbing on the shock body. So, see if I can get rid of it here by holding these. There's the... they sound a little low on fluid when you flip it upside down. Can't really hear it with the spring noise. Shock rods. They're actually a little thin for my liking. I like big, beefy shock rods. I always have, because you never know when something's going to happen. If you jump this thing and you land it on the back like this and something comes up and hits it on the shock, you don't want to bend a shock rod. So I've always liked big, thick, beefy shock rods. These are not that. The Traxxas GTR shocks that I have on Project Looney, my backslash I built, are actually thicker than these, and they're tinitride coated. I don't think these are. They're very long and fairly thin, so keep that in mind. If you're going to go all out, you nosedive it into rocks and things like that, you could bend a shock shaft. Same thing comes from if you have your oil's too thick and you land from a high jump, the pressure from the shocks compressing can also bend shock shafts. I'm not going to say that's a problem with this truck, but it is something that can happen if you have weak shock shafts. So keep that in mind. These are slightly thinner than what I would like to see on a truck like this, but you know, it's an RTR. It's not a purpose-built kit that you can buy your own parts for and build yourself. So I'll give them a pass on that. Links, as I was saying before, they look pretty beefy. They are every bit as big around as your links on bottom down here. So that's cool. These are so these are metal diff covers here. So that's cool to see, especially because when you are bashing this thing through rocks, your ring gear is actually right here behind this plate. I mean, you've got very little space for your ring gear. So to know that this is metal instead of plastic that could deform when hitting a rock or crack and damage that ring gear, this is actually really nice to have. I would prefer it be full metal axles, but it's not. They are plastic. There are aftermarket parts you can buy. Plastic rear links here. I got a little bit of flex to them side to side, but the way they're built, they're going to flex side to side. It's up and down that is where they need to be strong, and for that they do have flex, but they're strong. They feel strong. I have heard, I do believe, of people folding these or something, but the good thing about plastic is it's cheap to replace. And to replace this, literally all you do is you take off a wheel, and then you undo a screw here and a screw here, take the shock off, it pops off, and then you just put the new one on. So there is advantages to plastic. If you made this out of aluminum, you would probably have problems breaking the mounting point on the rear axle, or possibly even the mounting point here on the skid. Now, you don't have to worry about that if you've got, you know, an aluminum skid and aluminum axles, but I'm going to stick with plastic on these for as long as I can. They do sell little braces that you could put on the side, which should probably help with that quite a bit. But again, no problems with plastic. The drive shafts, they're going to be plastic bodied with a metal yoke on the outside, and that is oh, that's cool. So both sides of this are metal, and then your links in the middle, and your insert here is plastic, and then it's going to be the same up here, and that is front and rear. I was saying it's pretty cool because I thought this one back here was plastic at first, but it's not. It's metal, and then they have like a little plastic casing that goes over it. So that's cool. I said in the beginning, this thing is known for blowing out diff gears. I can't confirm or deny that right now. Time will tell when I take it out and drive it. But they look, not that I can see them fully, but judging by the axle casing and things like that. What you doing, white feet? You're in my way, pretty girl. Judging by the axle casing, they just look to be standard 10th scale size differentials. Probably, I mean, the only thing I would really have to base that on is like my Traxxas Slash. I'm sure it's not compatible, but the size is similar. With a 4S capable truck, I would have loved to see those be more 8th scale, but again, you put larger diffs in, and you have a larger pumpkin, and you have more chances of it hanging up on rocks and things like that. So you make sacrifices where you can for performance. Sometimes that leads to some weaknesses. Overall, I'm not seeing anything that I really dislike about it. It does have, I think, a steering servo saver. Yeah, it's got a servo saver up here. Some videos I watched, people were mentioning that this softens up after a while and you don't have as good of control in the rocks and on the trails because the servo saver gets weak. That's a simple fix. Buy you just a monster of a servo and put a solid arm on it. I've watched a guy who does that, and he actually, with his servo, which is extremely expensive, he actually strips aluminum servo horns instead of breaking the servo. So you can stay with a saver if it loosens up a bit. Again, it's just a little plastic piece that you can buy, and it's literally a screw here and a screw here. Take it off, pop the new one on, you're good to go until that one wears out. Or you can go with a solid aluminum or metal or even plastic if you want servo horn. So keep that in mind. I can't tell you, I did give you all the number on this servo earlier, but I can't tell you how strong it is or how weak it is until I actually get it out and drive it. ESC, let's see if I can find, yeah, it's buried so deep in there. Let me look on the box and the instruction manual. I don't think it's going to tell me what amp this ESC is, but like I said, it is 4S capable. It is 2S and 3S capable as well. Let me look into here real quick. Ryft, RBX10 Ryft, 1/10 scale, rock bouncer. Table of contents, quick start, transmitter, battery. Here we go. All right, Spectrum Firma Smart 130 amp brushless ESC, and the motor is going to be a Spectrum Firma 2200 kV 4-pole brushless motor. So there you go. Honestly, I'm not smart enough, or what I should say is I haven't delved deep enough into it to know what the amps on an ESC mean. I mean, it's definitely the power it can handle. And I do know that the more amps you have, the more powerful of a system you're going to have. I don't know what the lower limit is for something that's usable, if that makes sense. So yeah, there you have it. That's, I think, a full overview of this thing. Tires, how can we forget that? They're not rock crawler tires. They're nice, they're grippy, but they are kind of stiff. But again, this is not a rock crawler. They are glued tires. They're not real bead locks, although, again, you can buy bead locks for it. Let's take one of them off and see the the hex size on them. Yeah, that's an old wrench. I do believe they're 12 mil. I could be wrong on that, though. We do have faux brake calipers and stuff. Cool thing is, this is actually tied into your steering block here, and then the brake pad and rotor, or the brake pad assembly, caliper assembly is on here, and then the rotor is actually on the axle. So with the tire on, if you look closely enough, you can actually see the rotor turn with the wheel in there. So it does kind of have some scale features to it, which is nice. Pretty cool. The hexes on here are they aluminum or are they plastic? Yeah, I think they're aluminum hexes. They are held on with the set screw that goes through them. Nice and easy design, just like a lot of trucks that I own. Kind of have that style. It's actually, if you look in here, I don't know if I can get you close enough to see it, but if you look, let's see, where's that? Here we go. Where my thumbnail is, you can kind of see there's actually a steering stop here that smacks against that screw. So that's cool. You could probably grind this away, get a little more steering out of it. can also unscrew this a little right here and get a little less steering out of it. Well, that's cool. Now that I got the wheel off, these yeah, they look plenty beefy enough. I think they're gonna be all right. From watching other videos, I could tell you it does have metal pinion and spur, which is nice, because that can kind of be a pain to get to. You got to take the whole cage off, which I went through that with y'all already. You got nice little zip ties for the steering servo wire here. Yeah, I'm running out of things to look at, I do believe. It's a pretty nice truck. I'm liking it so far. I'm liking what I'm seeing. A little drop test with it from about a foot. A little bit of bounce in the rear, but it's okay. This thing isn't really meant to be jumped 30 feet through the air. I mean, yeah, you can jump it, you can catch some air with it. Trust me, it's got plenty of power and speed to do so. But it's not like an Armour Creighton or something like that where you can launch it off of a skate park ramp. Overall, yeah, I'm liking what I see. I like the decals on it. These are stickers. So if you get it in the mud and water, you may have a little lifting on these around the edges. The details inside are stickers. Let's see, is this a sticker or is it painted? That's a sticker here and here. The driver figures are painted helmets. They're orange with black stickers on them. Yeah, I'm liking this thing so far, and I do plan on doing some upgrades to it in the future. Maybe build something cool with it. Yeah, I don't see anything that I would say is inherently wrong, at least that I can see without tearing it down. The only thing I really see is the shock shafts are a bit thin compared to how long they are. So yeah, but I think they'll be fine as long as nothing comes up in here and actually hits them head on or something like that. And yeah, the shafts are pretty well protected from side impacts. I mean, you can always get something at an angle like this, but if it's just straight, you're going to hit the spring in the body. So, how much play do the shafts have inside the shock body? A little bit. So they got a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of wiggle room there. Tires do have foams in them and they are vented. Yeah, I'm liking it. I don't see anything inherently wrong with it. That noise is because it's got a brushless system and it's cogging, so every time the magnet goes past, it kind of does that. What that causes is a bit of backlash in the gears and things, and it's kind of noisy. I can actually overpower the center diff just by using that cogging to my advantage. Kind of cool. So the diff fluids seem a little thin, but from the videos I've watched, when it's under power and you're actually getting on it, they do a plenty good enough job just how they are stock. For some of you who are wondering why these aren't locked, like I said, you can buy lockers for it, but with as much wheel speed and power as you have, and the fact that you're going to be going through trails hitting rocks and high traction surfaces with one tire and not the other, you're more likely to break axle shafts if you lock it up. So keep that in mind. I would rather have this kind of thick fluid filled diff anyways, just because it helps save some of the drivetrain here and there. I don't know how well these plastic bodied drive shafts are going to hold up. We'll have to see. But I do know that I have the same style in the Losi Baja Ray that I've been running on 2S, and they're holding up just fine. So yeah, I think that's about all that I can really show y'all without tearing this thing down, and I'm liking it so far. It looks like a pretty good truck. So in the next video, we'll charge up a 2S, take it out, and take it for a rip. Unfortunately, my 4S won't fit without cutting the cage bar, which I'm not going to do. But like I said in the beginning, I don't really plan on running this thing on 4S anyways, so it's not a big deal. Under here, you do have a battery strap that you can hold it down for extra, it's not just this top plate that's holding it. You do have a strap. It has, from the factory, IC5 connectors, which are compatible with EC5 connectors. So it's just a slightly different shape, a slightly different color, but they are both compatible with one another as long as they are the 5s. They do sell these in EC3. Same shape, same design, just smaller. Those won't fit. You have to have the, I guess, what you would consider 5 series or whatever, connectors. So yeah, this will plug right in. IC5, EC5, just different color, just slightly different. But yeah, that's what it comes with there. Black faux beadlock wheels. They've got like the beadlock look, but they're again not real beadlocks. And I actually like the design on them. They look pretty good. Don't look bad at all. Well, I think that's about all I can show you on this thing. I'll look over it real closely for a minute and see if I find anything in particular that I don't like. But so far, I mean, everything looks plenty beefy enough, for my opinion anyways. Oh. How are those rod ends there held on? Oh, is that a set screw that goes through here? It is on this side, I think. Yeah. That's interesting. So instead of using a cap head or a button head or anything like that for these link mounts, they're actually using set screws that go in. So they're like the kind of, the whole body is threaded and they've got like a little head on the top. Yeah. Don't know how I feel about that, but they look to be about the same size as what's holding the hexes on, and those go through a lot of force. So they should be strong. I haven't personally seen a video of anybody snapping these set screws and pulling the links out. So, I mean, that doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means I haven't seen it. By the way, this right here is your radio box. This is a box here for your radio receiver and things like that. Let's see if I can figure out what these extra little orange parts that came in here are for. Just a quick little, hello. Quick little look here. I don't know what they're for. They're orange, so they obviously go with the cage somewhere, I would imagine. Let's see, do we have an exploded parts view in here? Here's a look at your transmission, the way this is built. So, you got your gearbox here, your motor, and then your pinion and spur, and a little paper trick, and then your motor's held on to the mount with 2 screws, and then your diff cover, or your transmission cover, spur gear cover goes on. Let's see. I'm not seeing those little plastic pieces anywhere in here. They are obviously optional parts because they don't come installed. So maybe it's not going to show them in the exploded parts view because they're not technically included on the truck. If you know what those are for, let me know. All right. Cool. Well, I guess that's all I have to show you. Overall, just from a look at it and without taking it apart or beating the crap out of it, I think it's a nice looking little truck. Adjustable shock collars, so you don't have to worry with the little clips. Like the paint job on it. You can also get this truck in black, and if you buy a kit version, it comes with a like a kind of grayish white cage. So at some point I may mix and match cage pieces to get some different colors, so it's not so orange everywhere. Like maybe the battery tray and the radio box stuff down here I'll do in black, so that just like the actual tubes are orange and not the entire undersection here. I don't know. We'll upgrade it as we go and have some fun with it. But for now, I think that's about all I can really show you. I know I've said that a couple times by now, but you know, this is all, none of this is scripted, none of it's written down. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Next video we'll take it out and give it a proper test drive. See how it performs. Well, this is the first look, unboxing and overview of the Axial Ryft. See y'all next time.